Happy almost Thanksgiving. It's time to go on the record. Boston's Mayor Marty Walsh almost through his first year in office. The possibility of local aid cuts, and should there be a new stadium in Southie? He's our guest today.
I think for the most part, if I have chances to talk about jobs, I'm going to take them.
Charlie Baker road trips, talking jobs, the economy, and a quiet trip to mingle with the national GOP elite. 45 days to go until he's sworn in as the next governor. And warning!
Our annual Thanksgiving survey. Who should be most thankful in politics right now, and who is a big turkey?
From WCPB Boston, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on OTR this morning with News 5's political reporter Jenny Wu. I'm Matt Harding. Great to have you. We have Boston's Mayor Marty Walsh with us as well. Great to have you with us, sir. So let's jump right into the questions because we want to hear what you have to say.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to this.
A couple days before Thanksgiving, we want to hear what you had to say.
Let's start with the stadium. Bob Kraft has been trying for years to get a stadium into Boston. Mayor Menino made it clear it wouldn't happen under his watch. Where do you stand on bringing a soccer stadium to South Boston, right next to your own neighborhood, which is in Dorchester?
I mean, we've had some conversations, early conversations about it. It was reported in the paper last week about stadium coming to Whitehead Circle. We still have a long way to go before we get there. Certainly interested in entertaining the idea of bringing the Revolution to the city of Boston, whether it's in the Whitehead Circle area, other parts of the city. I know there's some concerns. There will be some concerns around traffic, and there's a lot of vetting have to happen yet, but I'm certainly open to the idea.
To be clear, though, an 18 to 22,000 seat soccer stadium is vastly different from a 70,000 foot NFL stadium that would be downtown.
It's a whole different proposal. I think back, you know, Mayor Menino actually wrote in his book about the whole experience around the stadium. At one point, there was a megaplex. They were going to look at the Red Sox and the Patriots, I think, and the Bruins maybe. This is a very different venue, very different potential option for the city.
Did you talk to Bob Kraft directly, or
we've had very early conversations, you know, and I've talked to him about it. And, you know, he's interested. I think Bob Kraft's looking at other areas as well. Around Somerville was mentioned before in the past. Maybe Suffolk Downs, I think, might have been mentioned in the past. So there's been a lot of different venues that have been mentioned about it. So we're just going to continue.
Would you fight for it? Would you fight for a soccer stadium, or not? You're not quite there yet.
I mean, I think it would be exciting to have soccer as a professional soccer venue in the city of Boston. Again, it's about, you know, I think the Revolution has done a lot on their field as far as bringing in the Olympic players and people, World Cup players, I should say. So we have to. Just still a way to go.
You were right with Olympic players, which wedges the word Olympics into the conversation.
That was a mistake.
No, well, is it a mistake?
No, it's not. I mean, that's another conversation that we're having in the city of Boston. I mean, I think it's exciting that the opportunity to be in that competition as far as hosting an Olympic game in the city of Boston. It's
down to a couple of months, right? It's San Francisco, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and Boston,
Massachusetts. And I think that, you know, certainly we would look at Olympics as a walkable Olympics in the city. It would be great for the economy. It would be great for the region. It would be great for promotion of the city of Boston. I think the legacy left over would be an upgrade in our transportation system, both in our public transportation system and also our driving transportation system. I think it allows us the opportunity to take a look at Boston and see what type of city do we want to see Boston by the year 2030. And that's where I'm looking at now as mayor of the city. But what the Olympics would do is speed up that conversation. Let me just take 1 second here. Two cities, New York City, when they went for hosting the Olympics, they didn't get the Olympics, but what was left over was in Brooklyn. They were able to rezone Brooklyn, and Brooklyn is a thriving part of the country right now. And the second city is Chicago. Chicago went for the Olympics, didn't get the Olympics, but their convention center business and their tourism went skyrocketed through the roof. There's opportunities here, even if we didn't get an Olympics, to be put on a different stage.
So it sounds like you're driving this bus to make Boston the nominee from the United States.
I'd like to see it. I mean, again, we have a little way to go. There's a couple months here. The other three cities are putting on good, strong bids as well. So we'll see what happens.
And just to be clear, and Janet said it would only be the American bid for the 2024 Summer Games.
Onto the international.
Right. It doesn't mean the Olympics would be here.
No. There's many more steps to go. And there's a lot of conversations on our side we have to have.
I want to shift the conversation to the fear, the rage, the indignation of Ferguson, Missouri. Has it fully spread to the city of Boston? And do you share the protesters' anger or frustration?
You know, the protesters have had two protests in the city of Boston. They've been peaceful protests, and there's been no problems around it. And it's okay for people to express themselves, and these people should express themselves. You know, we're going to see what happens with the grand jury as we move forward here. But, you know, certainly, you know, this country is built on free speech and people being able to protest. All I ask people when they protest, just be respectful of one another, be respectful of property, be respectful of the city of Boston.
What do you think of the protesters' protest outside of the Boston Police headquarters?
I think it was fine.
It's fine.
It was fine. We had Chief Gross went out and spoke to the protesters. It was a very orderly protest, and people want to express themselves. I mean, that's people's public right to express themselves. And you know, in the city of Boston, as long as we ask people to do it in a peaceful way, I think they should protest.
Let's switch the conversation over to the schools. A little-known fund where cash from leasing buses and renting school facilities has misused hundreds of thousands of dollars for many things. We're not quite sure exactly where each dollar went, but at least some of the money went for dinners, plane tickets, instead of much-needed programs for the students, for the schools. This was going on for years before you arrived, but your current interim superintendent, John McDonough, was in charge of that fund. What was his explanation to you? Do you accept it, and are you confident that's not taking place anymore?
Well, I'm confident it's not taking place anymore, and John McDonough put a stop to it. And you know, we're looking at how this money was spent, but we're also looking at the way that the government's happened in the past. We're making some changes and reforms in the way we've delivered services in the city of Boston. There's been different funds in the city of Boston that have been set up to deliver different services, and I'm not a proponent of that or a fan of that, and we'll be looking to change a lot of the way.
Is he partly responsible, though? Because he was sort of the treasurer of these funds.
I mean, I don't know if I'd say he's partly responsible. I know that it was a different superintendent and a different administration, although he was there's no question about it. But he's also the person that put a stop to it.
And he's also not going to be the permanent...
he's not, and he won't be the permanent superintendent. And we're in the process now of a search, which we'll be announcing sometime the end of January, early February.
The governor's talking about $200 million in cuts to cities and towns as he walks out the door because of a revenue shortage. It's $200 million in cuts for that. A lot of it directed or indirectly for local aid to cities and towns. What's your reaction to that?
I mean, it's disappointing. I mean, certainly when we build our budget, in the city, we build our budget based on two numbers, really, local aid and also real estate taxes. Those are our two revenue sources, main revenue sources. And the fact that, you know, the governor and the administration put a budget together and put targets, what the benchmarks would be as far as what their indications as far as receiving revenues in, didn't hit those benchmarks. Now the cities and towns are being penalized for it. And I still think that might have been a little too early to make these cuts right now. I think we have...
Why? Why do you think it might have been early?
Because from what I'm hearing, November's revenue numbers are up and December still aren't in yet. So what happens if they hit the targets in November and December and we're forced to make the cuts?
Are you going to lobby hard against the vetoes?
Well, I'm going to talk. I haven't had a chance to talk to the Boston delegation yet to talk about what the next course of action might be. But again, it's a difficult situation. I mean, I spent 17 years up there where we've had times where we had plenty of surplus and we were able to spend money, and we had times that they had to do 9C cuts in the past. And I know there's one or two occasions where the legislature came back and overrode some of the 9C cuts.
All right, you ready for the OTR Prep Quiz?
I think so.
Look at there's confidence in your.
Well, I don't know. I just want to get one right. I'm watching some of the last.
Wait a minute, you just want to get one right?
Listen, I'm happy.
Lowering expectations.
Earlier this month, South Station was renamed for former Governor Michael Dukakis, so it got us to thinking about other Boston venues and the significance of their names. Question one, as we have discussed with you in the past, Donna Summer was the pride of Burke High School in your hometown of Dorchester. Yes. Who was the Burke named for?
Oh, God, I don't know.
Superintendent Jeremiah Burke, who was a superintendent of Boston schools from 21 to 31.
Well, I knew it was Jeremiah Burke, but I didn't know what Jeremiah Burke... Yeah.
What he did. Logan Airport was named for Edward Lawrence Logan in 1956. Was he A, a soldier in the Spanish-American War, B, creator of the Massachusetts National Guard, C, a Boston City Councilor, or D, all of the above?
I'm going to go with D.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So you got the one.
Yes. That's good.
It's all of the above.
Now.
We hit the break on a high note. We continue with Boston's mayor in just a minute.
But that was a guess, wasn't it?
No, but I wasn't sure about the...